You send a text message today, probably on my way, maybe something even shorter. And less than a second later, a phone somewhere buzzed. Maybe across town, maybe across this country, maybe on the other side of the planet. Here's what I keep thinking about. How? Not the vague answer. Not through the network. I mean, actually, how, step by step, machine by machine, what happened in that fraction of a second between pressing send and that phone buzzing? Because the answer involves 9 steps, 3 databases you've never heard of, and a protocol designed in 1975 that still carries most of the world's text messages today, and none of it works the way most people picture it. What's happening when you send a text? Most people have a mental picture: towers, a signal flying through air, phone to tower to phone. Clean, simple, and mostly wrong. That picture is missing 8 steps that cross carriers, countries, and continents in under a second to find exactly the right device out of 8 billion active phones. The mental model usually goes like this. You press send. A radio signal fires from your phone to the nearest cell tower. The tower relays it to another tower closer to your friend. That tower sends it down to their phone. Done. I thought this for years. Never questioned it once. Makes sense, right? Towers are literally named for relaying signals. But that's not how it works. The moment your message reaches the tower, it doesn't bounce to another tower. It stops being a radio signal entirely. The tower converts your message into data, ones and zeros, a small digital packet, and routes it underground through fiber cables to something called a base station controller, a BSC. This is where I got stuck. I assumed that the signal stayed radio the entire way. But the radio part is just the first and last meter, the gap between your phone and the tower. Everything after that is cables, switching hardware, and machines in buildings you've walked past without a second glance. And even once your message is inside the network doesn't know where to send it. Your message moves from the BSC to something called a mobile switching center, an MSC, the operational brain of the local network. Its first job is to answer one question: where is the person you're texting? To find out, it checks 2 databases. The first is called the HLR, Home Location Register. Every phone number on Earth has a permanent record in an HLR. Which carrier owns it, what plan it uses, what services are active. The HLR knows everything about a phone number. But it doesn't know where the physical phone is right now. For that, the MSC queries the VLR, Visitor Location Register. I didn't think this part would matter much. It does. Your friend's phone has been silently reporting its location to the network this entire time. Not because your friend asked it to. Not because anyone told them it was happening. Phones automatically check in with the nearest tower every few minutes, every time they enter a new coverage zone. The VLR records these silent check-ins in real time. So when your message arrives, the network already knows which tower to route it to. Think about that for a second. Billions of devices constantly announcing their location to infrastructure that never explains this to its users, so that messages can arrive in under a second. And it does this every time, for everyone, with no single person overseeing any of it. But what if your friend is on a different carrier, a different country, a completely separate network with nothing to do with yours? It gets stranger. The global phone network is not one network. It's thousands of separate networks. Each carrier runs its own infrastructure. Each country has its own systems. They don't share databases. They don't run on the same software. They don't necessarily know each other exists, and messages cross between all of them, invisibly, in under a second. Without you ever noticing. I had to reread this 3 times before it clicked. The answer is SS7, Signaling System 7, a protocol designed in 1975, a universal language that almost every carrier on Earth speaks, regardless of country, size, or internal systems. When your message needs to jump from one network to another, SS7 is the translation layer that makes it possible. SS7 was designed before the internet existed, before smartphones, before anyone seriously imagined billions of personal connected devices. And the entire planet's text message traffic still runs on it. By any reasonable measure, this shouldn't work. And yet it does. SS7 has documented security vulnerabilities. Researchers demonstrated, with publicly available evidence since at least 2014, that with access to SS7 and just a phone number, you can track someone's physical location in real time. You can intercept messages before they arrive. These aren't theoretical. They've been shown at security conferences, published in peer-reviewed research, covered by major news outlets. Nothing has fully replaced SS7, not because fixes don't exist, they do, but because upgrading global telecom infrastructure requires thousands of independent carriers across dozens of countries to agree and act simultaneously. That almost never happens fast. Most coverage frames this as a technical problem. It's more of a governance failure. The solutions exist. The political and economic coordination to deploy them globally doesn't. Your on my way text is riding a 50-year-old protocol with published vulnerabilities. That's what's underneath your everyday life. What do you think? Should carriers face legal deadlines to replace SS7, or is functional but vulnerable infrastructure acceptable when nothing better has been deployed? Leave an answer in the comments. So what is all of this actually? It's not a phone network. It's a distributed trust system. Thousands of carriers, each maintaining their own slice of global infrastructure, sharing routing decisions and location data through a common protocol, trusting each other's databases enough to deliver messages to strangers on the other side of the world. No central machine, no global controller, no single node that knows where everything is. And yet your message finds exactly the right device, out of 8 billion, in under a second. This carries more than texts, voice calls, authentication codes, bank alerts, emergency notifications. All of it routes through this same layered architecture, invisible and nearly constant. One detail that stuck with me: the VLR wasn't designed for smartphones. It was built for voice calls in the 1980s. Nobody in the design room imagined billions of pocket computers silently checking in hundreds of times a day. The infrastructure absorbed the load anyway. Every text you send is a small act of invisible trust. When your message arrives, it arrived because a database updated itself a few minutes ago without anyone asking. Because a protocol from 1975 translated your data across carrier boundaries. Because a system built on infrastructure that predates the internet decided in milliseconds exactly where your words belonged. No human approved the route, the machine just decided. There's something quietly remarkable in that, yeah. And something a little unsettling too. Most people never think to ask. The system works, so why go deeper? But working and understood are different things. And the gap between them is where problems like SS7 vulnerabilities live, unaddressed. For years, every time you type "on my way" and press send, you're activating 9 steps, 3 databases, a 50-year-old protocol, and a global coordination layer that routes your words across the planet before your thumb even lifts off the screen. The engineers who designed SS7 in 1975 had no idea what they were laying the foundation for. Neither did the ones who built the location registers, or the cell towers, or the fiber cables running under oceans. They just kept adding layers, decade after decade. And now you pick up a phone, type 3 words, and the whole machine wakes up, does its work, and goes silent in less than a second. The question I keep coming back to: how many other systems around you are this old, this complex, this essential, and this completely invisible to the people who depend on them? Comment yes if you're going to think about this the next time you send a text. I'm willing to bet most of you will.